Now, how many of y'all ever heard of the Willie Lynch letter? By a show of hands, who have? All right, if you can take this and pass it down. Take one and pass it. What the Willie Lynch letter was is a document that was written by a slave master by the name of Willie Lynch from the Caribbean. In this letter, he discusses different ways how to control your slaves. One was pitting male against female, old versus the young. And one of them was a light skin versus dark skin. And he also goes on to say that, in the letter it says that these are taxes that will last for hundreds of years to come. And the letter has supposedly been written in 1712. Now, I have to admit, I can't omit this information that while doing the research on the Willie Lynch letter, there have been some professors and scholars who have said that Willie Lynch wasn't real, that he didn't exist, that this was a hoax. But for the simple fact that this has been part of the African American history, and a lot of people have attributed this to the demise of the dark skin versus light skin, we have to mention the Willie Lynch letter. So after you receive it, take a gander and look at it and read it. It's quite interesting. But though that the Willie Lynch letter may be a hoax, still doesn't excuse the fact that we're still suffering from the horrific times of slavery. Now, I remember Heather spoke earlier about the house slaves being light-skinned and the dark-skinned slaves being the field slaves. Now, generally what was happening, the slave masters would have sexual relations with their slaves. When the slaves have the children, they would come out light-skinned, which was a telltale sign that their father was a white man. And the slave masters, I know in America in particular, they wouldn't claim the children because they were born of a slave mother, so therefore that child was a slave. But instead of completely denying it, they would treat that child better. The light-skinned child who was theirs got to work in the house. They got to go into town with the master. They got to sleep in the house. They got to get better clothes because that was their child, but they still was like, you're still a slave. Now, that in turn made the darker skinned slaves, upset with the lighter skin because they were being treated better. And so I wanted to show this. Oh no, I'm not done. But yes, that's why the house slaves were generally light skinned and the field slaves were dark skinned. But because of that mentality, that was an ongoing practice. It became a thing to do to treat the lighter skinned African American slaves better. All right. Now, in closing, I wanted to do this because I think that it's important that we know the origins of the state that we're in. I was asked one time, why do I think it's important that we as black people should know our history? We should know our history because our history still affects us today. We are still suffering from the practices that happened during the days of the Atlantic slave trade. Because of what the slave masters did to our ancestors, we still have division amongst ourselves. And I'm doing this also in hopes to spread the knowledge and the enlightenment that I received. I want to spread that to others in hopes that you all spread it to others. Because I honestly feel that if we get a grip on our history and what we know, we can actually make a change and an impact on society if we know where these things are coming from.
I know y'all heard me say earlier about the document called A Class Divided. I really think that everybody should look at that. It's really quick, it's short. Just to elaborate on it a little bit, it's about a teacher named Jane Elliott. She takes a class of third grade students, and the class was Caucasian, the whole entire class. This was during the time of slavery. And what she did was she came in class one day and she said, okay, today all the blue-eyed students are better than the brown-eyed students. And the students started to act in that manner. They would treat the brown-eyed students as if they were nothing. And then the next day she did the exact same thing, but on this day she told the brown-eyed students that they were better than the blue-eyed students. At the end of the day, she asked the students, like, how does it feel to be on the bottom? How does it feel to be the subordinate group? And the students said that it hurt their feelings. And these are a group of third grade students, They really don't know any better. They just heard what their teacher told them. So I just feel like we too, black people, have a tendency of discriminating even against white people because that's just how we were told. So if you could look at that video, it'll teach you that at the end of the day, you don't want to be that bottom group. You don't want to be the one that somebody always talking about. You got to treat people how you want to be treated, because it's just bad. It hurts to feel like you're nothing, you know? So I just encourage you all to look at it. It's really quick, you know, it's very informative.
And to me, with that video,
Which one?
what she said, what she
Oh, no,
talked about,
okay.
that goes to show you how people's minds are easily manipulated and twisted to make you believe that this is right and this is wrong. And we have been set in society that this is right and this is wrong and that's it. And nobody has, you have some people that are coming, trying to come out and say, hey, what society told you ain't right. But a lot of people just really basically go off of what they're told or what they have been taught. So we have been taught some, personally myself, if my mama tell me something, this is what you need to do, I'm gonna go follow what my mama said because this is what my mama told me to do. It's just anybody. Nobody is willing, some people, they're not willing to break out their box and say, well, just because she told me to do this, I'm not gonna do it, I'm gonna find out for myself so I can know for myself personally.
Right.
A lot of people won't do that. Society has, I believe for myself, people ourselves have cursed ourselves to the things that have become of us. Because we have allowed ourselves to be twisted and weak-minded to what people have told us. And we have people just curse ourselves generally because we don't know how to think for our own selves and we go off what other people say.
Thank you for that.
I agree with her, because it's a lot of people like, especially with like skinheads. I did a project of skinheads, and they were saying, this one man said he burned all his tattoos off, and every time you look at the YouTube, it changed to see how he is now. And he said he was unhappy with himself. He was brainwashed, taught that black people were terrible, this and that, instead of thinking for himself. And when he got out of it, and he started, traveling and starting to get to know himself and his family, he said, he feels bad because it's like, damn, like, I had a chance to meet different types of people. I had a chance to get to know the human body, and at the same time, I'm over here being disgraced about myself, and I take it out on other people. And like, it's deep, because a lot of people, especially in Upper Pennsylvania, a lot of white people are like just terrible. They don't like black people, and like they never been friends with a black person. But it's like, how do you know how can you discriminate somebody against their color when you never got a chance to know anybody? So it's like their parents taught them that, and their parents taught them that. So do you feel bad? Do you want to be? It's like, to me, do I want to hit you, or do I feel bad for you because that's what you was brought up? That was your upbringing. So that's.
Well, my parents always taught me when it comes to people who are not as aware of their actions towards others, it's because they tend to fear what they don't know. And when you have fear of a certain group, say an African American group, you automatically are going to stereotype them or have some type of feeling towards it. So it's